Megan, this is Paul, and this is your water pump. So you might remember back in April when we did our very first dip test, we had trouble getting the water pump to pump. It didn't want to pump water through the engine, and we had no water coming out of the exhaust, and that's what, the water circulating through the engine comes out of the exhaust. That's what cools the engine. So we took the water pump off and we took it apart, and we found that someone had replaced a shim, which has a very specific thickness, with gasket material. It was more, better, thicker gasket material. Problem is that what we don't want to have is space between the face of the gears and the housing, and I'll show you why. So anyway, we thought we'd found the problem because when we replaced this shim and we tested the boat with what's called a fake leg, which is kind of a glorified plunger that we stick under the inlet of the water pump, which is below the boat. We turn the water hose on, we have water available for the pump. This pump managed to go ahead and pump water. Evidently, we were forcing water through at city water pressure instead of actually pumping water. So at any rate, when we went to dip test yesterday, we found that we were once again not pumping water. And what happens is, the way this pump works is, as this rotates, this is our inlet side and this is our discharge side. So as this rotates, you can see that we're opening a space between these gear teeth. As we rotate this space opens up. The gear teeth no longer mesh, so there's space made. That creates a suction on the inlet side of the pump and sucks water up into the pump. Then the water goes around the outside of the gear, and when the gears come back together on this side, the gears mesh and there's no longer room for the water, so the water has to go somewhere, and where it goes is out the discharge. Unfortunately, what's happened is both this housing and the housing inside here have worn where the gear teeth were scraping the housing, and that's normal wear. That just happens. This pump's been on this boat since 1953, so what it amounts to is we've just finally gotten all the goodie out of this pump that we're going to get. So what happens when we get space between the edges of the gear and the housing is, again, we have a negative or a suction side of the pump and a discharge side of the pump. That's high pressure, that's low pressure. The water is actually going across the face of the gears, between the face of the gears and the housing, back to the inlet side of the pump, and we're circulating water inside the pump instead of circulating water through the pump. So unfortunately, these pumps are not rebuildable. They're no longer available. Even the replacement pump for this pump is no longer available, but there is a solution. They make a pump for the next size up engine. You have a K engine, they make a pump for the M engine, and it will fit. I have to move this plumbing over to the other pump and put some adapters in and so forth, and then install it still. But unfortunately, that pump is $673.80. So what I want to do is not spend the money until you realize I'm spending the money. But I would like to get approval today and get that pump to ship today, because it won't get here until Thursday if I order it today. So I wanted you to see why what's happening is happening. I've sent you an email already, but I wanted to have this visual, and I'm going to give you a call in a few minutes as well. Thanks, Bob.